If anyone's ever wondered if police officers in other countries are as thin-skinned and pathetic as police officers in America, this story should give you a definitive answer. Now, Sam Kerr is one of the best soccer players in the world. She led the Australian women's national team to the semifinals at last summer's Women's World Cup. She scored 99 goals and 128 appearances for Chelsea in the Women's Super League. And for anyone who doesn't know, that's quite impressive. She was also runner-up for last year's Ballon d'Or. For the last few weeks, the superstar has been making headlines for more controversial reasons. Specifically, she was accused by British police of saying a racist slur. So let's get into the details. From Washington Post, Chelsea striker Sam Kerr is facing trial in Britain on charges of racially aggravated harassment of a police officer. The charges stem from an alleged incident early last year when a police officer responded to, quote, a complaint involving a taxi fare, the Metropolitan Police said in a statement. It was January 30th, 2023, the day after Kerr scored a hat trick in a 4th round match against Liverpool in the Women's FA Cup tournament. They then went on to win the title for a 3rd straight year with her scoring a winning goal. A year later, authorities charged Kerr with, quote, racially aggravated offense under the country's Public Order Act, police said. The incident allegedly occurred in Twickenham, not far from Kerr's home in southwest London. Now, this charge came as a shock to soccer fans for several reasons. First, Kerr is a woman of color, and she's been involved with anti-racism campaigns in both England and Australia. She herself has been the victim of racist abuse, as well as misogynistic abuse, anti-LGBTQ abuse. And British police and prosecutors, when making statements about this case, consistently referred to what Kerr said as, quote, a racial slur without divulging what was actually said. Well, in a preliminary hearing for the trial this week, we learned a little bit more about it. But during this time, think pieces in British and Australian media were calling for her to not just lose her position as captain, but for her career to be ended. And I have to emphasize that this charge is serious. It comes with a maximum penalty of 2 years prison time. And on Wednesday, 6 News Australia revealed what she actually said, what the supposed slur was, and they did so with this fantastic graphic, which says Sam Kerr allegedly called cop stupid white bastard. She is being charged with a hate crime for calling a cop stupid white bastard. And I hope that when she said it, she pointed at him exactly like she's pointing at us in that graphic. Now, I cannot stress enough that this law was created to protect racial minorities like Sam Kerr from racist harassment in England. And they are using it to charge a woman of color with a hate crime against not just a white person, but a white cop. Because when she was drunkenly disputing a cab fare after a night out, she pointed at him and called him a stupid white bastard. They want her to go to prison for 2 years. And I'll let you guys comment on this, but I just want to point one other thing out, which is that it took them an entire year to charge her with this. And the reason they've had to admit this, it took them an entire year to charge her with this crime, is because the Crown Prosecutorial Service couldn't figure out how to charge her with the crime over the incident. They spent a year trying to grasp at straws and figure out what they could charge her with that would stick. They've had to admit this now. Them in tandem with the police couldn't figure out how to charge her, and they finally picked something that they thought they could send her away for. It is disgusting, but the way that the world has rallied behind her after it was revealed that she just called him a white bastard has been absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. So, I mean, man, cops are the most sensitive people on earth.
Right?
Like, you just say the slightest thing against them and they're like, let's put her in prison for 2 years for insulting me. British cops, let it go, let it go. So look, guys, I don't want you to misunderstand what I'm saying. I don't like using race in any slur in any way. And I don't think that it's a great idea to use it against white people at all, okay? I don't think, so if she'd asked me, hey, should I say this? I would have said, no, don't say that. That's not a nice thing to say, right? But prison for 2 years? And look, here's what you gotta understand. If, like, as usual, I'll use my own ethnic background, right? So Turks in Germany are a minority, and oftentimes a minority that is discriminated against. So if a German cop or a politician or someone in power, or even a regular German person were to say like to some powerless Turk there, you Turkish bastard, and they did it in the context of doing other bad things to him, etc. You could say, oh, that's interesting. I can see how that might be an issue. If they just said it, even then I wouldn't prosecute somebody for words. I know some people might disagree about that, but if they did it in the middle of beating up the guy, etc., and you hate crime, okay, I get it. But if on the other hand, some non-Turkish ethnicity said to a Turkish cop in Turkey, you Turkish bastard, same exact thing. It's not like the Turks are discriminated against in Turkey. It's not like, oh my God, is the cop worried for his life that Rando Bob was gonna go get him because he called him a Turkish bastard? No, they're the powerful in Turkey. So it matters, that context matters. I don't think you should do it in any circumstance, but the question is the severity. And the severity here is really minor.
The thing that makes it worse to me is that it took them a whole year basically to finalize this. I mean, how to not let some go, God damn, like how to hold on to a grudge, man. These wake up every day and they just, no, I won't let it go. But unfortunately for her, she has to go through this, and it's no surprise that most of the world is on her side, because stupid white bastard is perhaps you could laugh at that. That's kind of funny to be called something like that, And in the line of work that we're in, people say absolutely terrible things about us. I mean, you just go into the comment sections of anything, and it's like, oh God. But it's who cares, But like you said, they have the authority, they got to uphold it. In Jersey, there was a viral video of a police officer who now his boss showed up drunk. He was the chief, but he ended up tackling his boss onto the car. And it's like, bruh, this is your boss. Of course, he got in trouble for that. But, it kind of seems like when they get flustered, their only response is violence or retaliation to some degree. Like they're just totally unprepared to deal with stuff.
It reminds me a little bit of a gang, because the one thing that gangsters will not tolerate is lack of respect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And so there'll be severe consequences for the mildest little thing because their fifis got hurt.
Exactly like a gang.
I want to add quickly that it's pretty much assumed that the case is going to be dismissed now that they were forced to reveal what they were charging her for. So she probably won't go to jail, hopefully, but the taxpayers in Britain should be pissed off that their money has gone to this crusade over hurt feelings.
Yeah, and by the way, Jackson's right, man. If you could get arrested for this, there's a couple hundred people who could get arrested in the comment section right now.
Man.
Just on what they say about me alone, let alone before we get to anyone else.